Hey, good day everyone. It is your Federal Phoenix. So I decided, I have a list of videos I want to do before I'm incarcerated, topics that I want to touch on, to assist others in their journey, through the federal prison system, the federal correction system. I'm a newbie at this. I've never been to prison. I have no federal priors or anything. You know, so one of the videos I wanted to do, and I keep looking this way, because you guys know me, I got notes, because I get, I'm like that squirrel on Ice Age at the beginning that's kind of looking for the acorn. Sometimes get confused or distracted easily. So to help keep things on track the best I can, I have notes. But today's video will be preparing for your federal sentencing hearing. If you've been following my videos and my journey, you know that my federal sentencing hearing is in 3 months. So I've done a lot of research, both, listening to videos and reading articles written by lawyers and judges, speaking to persons, that have been through the federal system, that are in the federal system, just a whole, YouTube, Google, I've done a boatload of research, to try to mentally prepare, and logistically prepare for what's to come, and to be able to foresee, any obstacles and try to navigate them as well as I can in advance, so that they're less stressful, less anxiety ridden, and really just kind of buffer the fact that, for myself, that this is a incredibly overwhelming situation to be in process. So I hope my videos help you do the same. I hope you benefit from my research, and my experience. And for those who are watching my videos for educational purposes, maybe you're studying criminal law or something, I hope that these videos give you any needed insights or information. And for those of you who don't fall into any of those categories and are simply watching my videos out of curiosity, I really hope that my story can be a cautionary tale that, you need to be mindful of the choices you make in life. And you need to be mindful of the decisions or the consequences of your choices, even the potential consequences, no matter how likely you think they may or may not be. You need to really make your decisions in life based upon, are you prepared to accept the consequences if things do not go the way in your mind you think you prefer they go. So having said that, let's start this video. It's preparing for federal prison. I made a list of ways in which you, a person who is preparing for federal prison, which means you're probably on pre-sentence release right now, if this applies to you like I am. You probably have some federal monitoring, some probation, possibly, a lot or little parameters with that. But these are the things you can do right now to prepare for your federal sentencing hearing. The first thing I mentioned is your PSR, but I'm actually going to do a separate video once my PSR is fully completed and me and my lawyer have reviewed it and stuff. And I'm like super duper familiar from experience with that whole process. So I'm not going to really touch on that much. I'll address that in a completely separate video because I think that's such a huge piece of your journey through the federal justice system that it's deserving of its own video. Okay. The next thing I want to mention is personal narratives. Some people opt to do these, some people do not. Your PSR is going to be very in-depth. Pretty much like a biography of your life, up to your arrest or criminal charges. It's going to talk about your childhood. It's going to talk about, what medications do you take on a regular basis? What are your family dynamics? What are your relationships with family members and your children and your parents and things? What school did you go to? What college did you go to? Just very, very in-depth information. But a lot of people, decide to write a personal narrative. And I would say the ideal time, if you're going to do that, to do it and have it sent to the judge. And when you send it to the judge, it's probably best to do that through your lawyer. Or at least send your lawyer a copy in advance of you sending it to the judge, because there may be things that you're saying in there that are going to, perhaps your choice of words may, really hinder you, in front of the judge, and you don't want to embarrass yourself or your lawyer, and you certainly don't want to, naively, while well intending, say something, or the way you say something cause you to have repercussions. That's something you have to really tread very lightly about. But if you decide to do a personal narrative, um, you need to mention the changes you have made in your life. You need to kind of, your personal narrative really shouldn't be about your criminal case too much. It should be about your life up until your arrest, and not really super in depth about your criminal case. Your personal narrative is your choice to write a personal narrative is a choice to embrace an opportunity to present to the judge, because the PSR is going to be pretty much the probation's version of your life up to that point. But if you want to author and submit your own version of events, or perhaps there's some things that you feel should have been, discussed more in depth and expounded upon. Perhaps there are some things you think they kind of overly focused on, that aren't as significant from your perspective in the grand scope of who you are as an individual, aside from your criminal, current criminal charges. If you choose to write a personal narrative, you should certainly mention anything in your life that has really contributed to the circumstances or the mindset you had at the time of committing your crimes. And do not think that this is an opportunity to portray yourself as a victim of, your Lemony Snickets now, series of unfortunate events. And you're just a great person, with an unfortunate series of events, which may even be true for you. But you do not want to even attempt to portray yourself in that light, because it comes across as very deceptive, and it comes across as very manipulative. And if you are nothing else with your judge, you definitely need to be transparent and honest and forthright. And your judge will, at the very least, respect that of you, and that will give your interactions with your judge, will allow them to be more meaningful, in your advocacy for yourself throughout your federal, journey, because you've established a rapport and a pattern of behavior that's respectable. You do not want to derail those efforts by woe is me. If you want to mention some of the atrocities that you have endured or witnessed, you need to do so, but then, you need to follow that up with, I know this does not justify me consciously doing criminal things, me consciously making bad decisions. If you want to mention the difficulties you faced, you need to make sure that you're mentioning them in a way that does not excuse yourself. Because if you've taken a plea deal, as 90-some% of all federal defendants do, accountability is a pivotal part of your sentencing down to your guideline ranges, of, your judge's really respect for you, I think. And, you're taking responsibility kind of conveys to the probation department and your lawyer and even your friends and family and your loved ones that you will not, you're less likely to reoffend, to recidivize. You're less likely to continue or have another incident like the one you're currently dealing with, because you've taken responsibility. You cannot, you never expect a person to really remedy their behavioral patterns or their choices when they see nothing wrong with them. So personal narratives, now keep in mind too, personal narratives could be beneficial, but they could also be detrimental. Like everything, there are two sides to a coin. And that's a choice you have to personally decide if you want to take. I've thought about doing a personal narrative, and I think I will do one, if I feel that my PSR does not accurately portray my character and my life experience. But if I feel that my PSR is at least mostly accurate in the portrayal of my character and my life experience, I'm not going to, bombard the judge with an additional piece of paperwork, an additional 2-3 pages, to read. I don't want to inconvenience my judge any further than I have to. And you shouldn't either. You don't want to be that fly buzzing around someone's head all day. No one likes that. If you do write a PSR, write it out, type it up, because you need to really always be mindful and respectful of the significance and the authority of the federal court system. Again, this is, humbling yourself is very important through this whole process. And then sign it by hand, because that's the most professional and respectful way to present it. And you need to be, again, very mindful of that. The next thing you can do to prepare for prison is, if you're going to prison, or maybe you will be one of the very small percentage of people who gets extremely blessed by the federal court system, and that you're allowed to do your sentence on home confinement. I dream of such an outcome for myself, but I keep it to a dream because I know that it so rarely happens. I don't want to have to deal with the disappointment if it doesn't happen for me. You know what I mean? But part of your sentence and all that is, you've been arrested, you've been charged, you've probably at this point, if you're preparing for sentencing, you've taken a plea deal most likely. So you've admitted responsibility, you've taken accountability. And now what's next? Don't try to wait until, oh, when I get out of prison, I'm going to volunteer and help build homes for less fortunate people. When I get out of prison, maybe you're victims, and you need to, even if you feel your crime was victimless or it's categorized as victimless, every crime has a victim. That's why there are laws against them. If your crime was drug related, perhaps you I don't know, were some kind of person who was involved in that kind of thing, but didn't actually personally sell drugs. So you're like, oh, I have no victims. Or maybe you sold drugs and you still feel you have no victims. You have victims. When drugs enter a community, it increases the crime rate. It makes the vulnerable members of society, such as the elderly, more likely to be targeted by those, in the desperate situation of seeking to finance their next high. So no matter how much you may feel that your crime is victimless, it has victims. Perhaps you ran some type of a Ponzi scheme or something to that nature, and and it was predatory, and maybe a lot of your the people that you took advantage of were senior citizens, or maybe they were veterans, God forbid, or there's all kinds of so those are your victims. And what are you going to do to remedy, to make that right, to try to make amends? And if you think that you're just going to sit on your butt on pre-sentence release and just wait for your sentencing, and then, oh, when I get out of prison, I'll try to right my wrongs and do something different. I mean, that's bare minimum effort on your end, and so expect bare minimum consideration from the judge and the probation department and pretty much everybody in authority throughout your journey. But what you can do is you can volunteer at some senior citizens' homes. You can, if you're physically capable, volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. If you have a history of substance abuse, or if substance abuse has contributed to your crimes, you certainly can be not only doing what the probation department is requiring, but you could also additionally be taking voluntary NAA meetings, maybe joining some outreaches in the community where different, a lot of times it's ministries, but, reach out to assist those, in addiction or in recovery. You can be proactive. So one of the things you need to do in preparation for your sentencing is you really need to take a very honest look at yourself in the mirror, and you need to figure out who are my victims? And you have victims. And don't allow yourself the egotistical notion that your only victims are yourself and your children and your friends and your parents, or your loved ones, because these are the people that got hurt, that's most apparent and in your face. That's very selfish, and it's very egotistical to think that these are the only people that are impacted, because that's never true. You need to really have a very honest, introspective examination of yourself and your decisions and the ripple effect of the decisions you've made. And you really need to figure out, who are my victims? You need to identify that. And once you've identified who are my victims, the next step in your journey towards preparing for sentencing is to figure out, how can I make amends? How can I rectify things with my victims? If you're a person with a lot of financial means and your crimes were of a financial nature, start trying to pay these people back. Start trying to pay your restitution. Try to make right the wrongs you have done. And I think that will be something that will allow your lawyer and your judge and the probation department and pretty much all the authority figures throughout your journey to see that you are sincere and to see that you are truly, truly taking full responsibility for yourself, which also reassures all these people that it is much less likely that you would, commit a similar crime or probably any crime in the future, because you have, really opened a new chapter. So definitely do that. The last thing I have for preparing for, character reference letters. These can be helpful if you can get, well written, well articulated character reference letters from particularly leaders of your community, maybe a couple people close to you, your mom, your adult sibling, whatever. That can have a positive impact on the judge. You don't want to bury the judge in character reference letters, and you don't want these letters to be people just blindly singing your praises, because what insight does that really give? Because, your lawyer's going to do that at sentencing. He's going to say, basically why you should get a lighter sentence. And usually that pivots on the fact that you're a decent person. And you don't want your character reference letters, these people to even comment much, if at all, on your criminal activity or your current charges. But what you do want is you want these people to give the judge a perspective on you. And it can have some bad. It ain't got to be all good. But a well-written, well-articulated perspective on you as a human being. And really, I'm not going to do character reference letters. The people that I feel would be most effective in writing a character reference letters, the people closest to me, are generally not very wordy people, not, over the top, extra articulate. And I worry that there would be some miswording or maybe misuse of language. And I just worry that it's not going to, they would not effectively serve the purpose. The letters will not serve their purpose. So I'm not going to do them. But a lot of people do choose to do them. If you do choose to do them, write a list of people you would want them from and be willing to do them for you. Cut that list down to about 5. And after they write them, you cannot coach them on what to say. But after they write them, look them over. If you think anything is going to be counterproductive, have a talk with them about it. And if they choose to amend it, great. But again, do not tell them what to say, because that's deceptive. But personally, I'm not going to do character reference letters. The last thing you need to do in preparation for your federal sentencing hearing is I put finance and network. And I've touched on this in other videos. You need to, like, I have my inmate number now. So part of my networking and all of this will be to make sure that all the persons close to me know my inmate number prior to my sentencing hearing. That way, if they want to write me, if they want to put money in my books, if they want to send me a magazine subscription for my birthday, they can do so with relative ease. If they want to look online, and because I haven't wrote in a week and they think, oh, maybe they've moved her and they want to kind of get an idea of where I'm at or if I'm at the same facility, they can do so as well. I've mentioned, in earlier videos and just preparing for federal prison that you need to have your power of attorney, your point of contact person. Again, you want to reinforce that person being completely up to date at all times on things, and you want to reinforce your people going through that person to gather information, because they can't just call you up when they want to know something. Definitely, and I've mentioned this before as well, you definitely want to be very diligent about identifying resources, whether it be in your general community, your religious community, amongst your friends and family, amongst your associates, your coworkers, resources that both human and non-human, like maybe loan programs, or maybe that can benefit you and help you, adjust when you come home. Or maybe there's, if you're a person who's going to come home and not have a home to go to, maybe you don't have anyone in your life who has a suitable home and is willing to take you in when you come out of the halfway house. You need to be looking into what homeless shelters in your area allow federal inmates to come to be released to live there while on federal probation. You need to identify work resources. You need to identify pretty much any resource that can assist you prior to your incarceration, and during your incarceration. But the big thing is as you transition from being an incarcerated person back into the free world. You're going to need as much support and networking lined up for that as humanly possible, because it's not going to be easy mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, and every way logistically. It's going to be a Goliath and you are David standing there with the stone. So, you need to prepare for that to the best of your ability. And even then, I'm sure it'll be incredibly overwhelming, but you'll be better equipped to deal with it and to be successful in your reentry and, and get through this process and come out the other end a truly free person again. So, and of course, I've mentioned other videos, how you need to dress and and that type of thing as well. Because again, showing that you are being respectful to the court and to the judge is extremely, like, I cannot even emphasize enough how important that is. So you really need to make that a focal point for yourself in any preparation for any proceeding in federal court, including your sentencing, probably especially your sentencing. Definitely make sure your loved ones, friends, and family know when and where, date, time, place your sentencing hearing will be. Contact them a couple weeks before it and kind of, see if they want to come. If they want to come, maybe some people need to carpool if it's not local to you. Make all of those arrangements. If there's going to be need to be hotels reserved because perhaps you and your closest person are going to need a room and you're bringing a couple close people to you who you're also putting in a room, make those reservations a couple weeks in advance. You don't want to be traveling for these hearings, as a lot of people do, and get there and realize you guys are sleeping in the car on a park bench the night before court. That's I can't even laugh because that's such an intimidating thought. But definitely be very thorough right now with your networking and your planning and your preparation. And of course, financially, if you have a few dollars put aside, be ready to get like a money order, postal specifically money order, to send to yourself in prison, to mail the night before you go self-surrender, or to have ready when you go to your sentencing hearing. So those few dollars can be mailed in to the BOP so that they can go on your books, so that you will have a couple of dollars, at least something. Something's better than nothing, for a few stamps and envelopes and maybe a stick of deodorant, So, but anyway, this is my video on preparing for your sentencing hearing. You also should talk to your lawyer. He will be given a chance to speak right before you're sentenced. And you want to kind of know what he's going to say. If there's something specific, you prefer he say, or you want him to point out, go over that well in advance. And then after your lawyer speaks, which will be after the prosecution speaks at your sentencing, you'll be given a chance to give what is called allocution. And I will actually do a video specifically about sentencing allocution. Because this is something I have studied in depth and read a great deal on, because I know that it is an incredibly fundamental piece to you having an outcome that is most suitable for your situation and most beneficial for you. So I'll do a video also before my sentencing hearing on allocution. I may even, present to you my allocution as an example. But yeah, so these are my tips for preparing for your federal sentencing. I hope they've been helpful. I hope they've been insightful. I hope they've been supportive. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to, see more of my videos or kind of keep track of my journey. Hit the little dingy bell thingy for notifications. After you subscribe, if you want to be made aware whenever new videos present themselves, as I mentioned before, once I'm actually incarcerated, there will be no videos until I'm no longer incarcerated. So there may be a period of years where my channel just kind of goes silent. Like, all the current videos will still be there, but there will not be new content. So, if you subscribe and you hit notifications, then when I do come back into the free world, you'll actually at that point be made aware that I'm back and I'm making videos again. And then I can discuss with you and give you tips and insights on actual life in prison. So anywho, I hope everyone has a great day. I hope this has been helpful. And this is your Federal Phoenix signing off. Good day. God bless.